Hello, everyone. My name is Juliet Volak, and I'm the Director of External Affairs for Florida Pine Light Company in Broward and Southwest Florida. I'm so honored to join you today on behalf of our entire FPL team. FPL is committed to delivering America's best energy value to our customers. Electricity that's not just among the cleanest and most reliable in the country, but also affordable. And we are proud to be this year's Industry Watch Session sponsor for infrastructure and renewable energy at this 11th annual National Black Economic Conference. FPL is prize supporter of this event, and we're committed to continuing our work to advancing economic mobility, getting back to business, and moving Florida forward, all while continuing to support our community. One of the ways we're doing that is by helping grow Florida through small business innovation and entrepreneurship. Last year, FPL launched our Innovation Hub, 35 Mules, and welcomed startups who are doing great things. Applications are now open for the second cohort for 35 Mules, our next class of innovators. So you too can join and access subject matter experts, leadership coaching, and cash of up to $100,000 in rent-free workspace, and more. I will leave you with this video and encourage you or others you may know looking to take their businesses to the next level to apply. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 11th Annual National Black Economic Conference. I am going to ask my panelists to please mute their mics really quickly. Thank you so much for joining this session. On behalf of the Mosaic Group, the Black Business Loop, the Black Chamber of Commerce for Palm Beach County, and the Urban League of Broward County, we would like to thank you for joining us this year for the 11th Annual National Black Economic Conference. At this time, I would like to quickly thank our sponsors. So thank you to FP&L, Discover the Palm Beaches, Complete Contract Consulting, Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, Florida State Minority Supplier Development Council, South Florida Times, Miami Media Group, LLC, and Valley National Bank. And at this time, I would love to introduce our moderator for today's session. And today we will be discussing this is the Industry Watch session, discussing renewable energy and infrastructure. So today, moderating our session, we have Mr. Joseph Sanchez. Mr. Sanchez is the president of the D. Stevenson Construction Incorporated, the largest African-American owned general contracting firm based in Florida. DSC was founded in 1992 and specializes in the construction of educational facilities, municipal buildings, multifamily residential, airport, and other facilities throughout South Florida. Some of the firm's projects include the West Palm Beach Fire Station, number 8, New South Bay Villas, the Urban League of Broward County Community and Empowerment Center, Florida Memorial University Athletic Center, and the Boca Raton Public Safety Informational Management Center. Mr. Sanchez is on the board of directors with the Black Chamber of Commerce of Palm Beach County and the Kravis Center for the Performing Arts. He is also actively involved in the Minority Builders Coalition, National Forum for Black Public Administrators, and several other community organizations. So I now introduce to you Mr. Joseph Sanchez. Take it away.
Danielle, appreciate that. And I appreciate everyone joining us and sticking with us. We're battling a little technical difficulties, but we're here now, and we're ready to share some great information with our esteemed panelists who I'm going to introduce. So I think this red and this burgundy has been the color of the day. I see a lot of people wearing that today. So we're right in tune with the theme. So let me introduce our panelists. Adriana Clark is the South East Region Director for the U.S. Department of Transportation, Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization in the Southeast region. She is tasked with administering programs designed to enhance the competitive landscape of DOT small business customers, including DBEs, SBEs, WOSBs, 8A, Hub Zone, SDVOBS, this is a couple of new ones for me, and VOSBs, in order to enhance their ability to perform on transportation infrastructure projects. Ms. Clark received her master's degree in international business from the Huizinga School of Business at Nova Southeastern University, is currently completing her doctorate education in organizational leadership at Nova University. So welcome, Ms. Clark. Thank you for joining us today. Our other esteemed panelist is Ann McNeil. So Ann McNeil's success as a speaker, coach, and author stems from her ability to create a blueprint of success and accumulate the right materials to use in order to lay a firm foundation to help people build upon their strengths. Ann is president and CEO of one of South Florida's few African-American female-owned construction companies. MCO Construction was founded 40 years ago and is still one of the leading minority firms in South Florida in the area of construction management and project controls. MCO Construction has worked on a majority of flagship projects in South Florida, such as the Miami Airlines American Airlines Arena, Marlins Ballpark, so it was a mouthful, the Miami International Airport, the Miami Science Museum, the Miami Children's Courthouse, and many, many others. So again, thank you and welcome, Ann, to you as well. So we're looking forward to you guys sharing some information about your organizations and yourselves as well. So first of all, I want to ask you guys just to briefly tell us a little about how you got your start in your industry. And Ms. Clark, you want to start first, and then we'll jump to Dan. You're on mute, I think, still. There you go.
Apologies for that. Thank you so much. What a wonderful pleasure it is to be here this morning to join everyone, certainly our audience of small business CEOs. Welcome to everyone. To a friend and mentor, Ms. Ann McNeil, good to see you, and to be on a panel alongside you with all the experience. It's really humbling. But in terms of how I got my start, I would say, in at least in transportation infrastructure, I would say quite by happenstance, as I was really settling into academia as a career when this unusual opportunity sort of met me. And essentially, the School of Business at Miami-Dade College was approached to essentially bring more socially and economically disadvantaged businesses into the federal contracting space. And so 14 years later, here I am, and I can't imagine a more dynamic industry than transportation infrastructure to start and grow professionally. So that's kind of how I got here. And like I said, 14 years later, I'm here doing the work and really enjoying the industry.
Great. Ann McNeil, I'll throw you the same question. So how did you get started in this construction industry?
Wow. Why are you laughing, Joe?
Because I know it's more than 14 years ago. Just barely. Uh-oh.
I'm reading the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon. Yes, Joe. Reading a book by Napoleon Hill. December 31st, 9 p.m., 1979. And in the book, he asked me 4 questions. He asked me, how much money do you want? What you're gonna do? What are you gonna do to make the money? By what date do you want the money by? And where is your plan to make the money? Those were the 4 questions he asked me. But he gave me 5. He gave me a 5th item, which was to create an affirmation statement and recite it twice a day. I'm getting a little feedback. I'm not sure if maybe, I don't know sure how to mute myself or what the feedback is. It's kind of hard to hear. Uh,
I
so,
think your connection's a little bit shaky there, so I'm not sure if we
okay,
can
I'll
move it
just keep
closer.
going. But you can hear me okay though? Okay.
We can hear, yeah, it's a little, it's not 100%, but we can hear you, okay?
All right, perfect. Thank you. So in answering those questions on that night, December 31st, I decided to stay home and read this book, and my husband's friends decided to go out and celebrate the new year. And what happened, Joe, is that as I began to attempt to answer the questions, I realized I was so deeply in debt, there was no way I could even save $1,000 a year.
Hmm.
And that began a journey for me that I'm still on to this day. And the journey led me to really revisit what I was taught. Go to school, get a good education, get a good corporate job. I did that. So why was I so deeply in debt with no way of getting out with a good corporate job? You see, I'm old enough to remember riding in the back of the bus with my mom holding my hand, because I'm going back in the day when you couldn't sit on the front of the bus, but I'm also young enough, though, to benefit from the 1964 Civil Rights Act that gave me the right to work in the corporate world. So coming into construction was nowhere in my view. But as I started this process of understanding how to make money and save money, I realized my corporate job was not enough. And so walking through these principles of the book, I came upon the chapter called the Creative Mastermind Group. So I started giving the book away to friends. We started the mastermind group. Now, when I did that, I realized that having a group of individuals of like mind and like spirit to hold me accountable for how was I going to make money. And as I began to look at ways of making money at the same time in this good corporate job, my husband and I, we bought our home. Then we bought the home across the street. Then we bought the home down the street. Then we bought the home on the next street. And for those of us who are from Palm Beach County, one of the first properties we bought after buying our own home was a property where the convention, where the Kravis Center sits. Where that property sits, the first property we bought sat on that property. Of course, knowing nothing about construction or real estate, we started repairing the property and in Palm Beach County, not knowing about the flight of the neighborhood, knowing nothing. I come home one day from work, my good corporate job, and my husband, married, graduated valedictorian. I give him kudos, Dan McNeil. And I came home from work one day at from Pratt and Whitney, and he said to me, you know, if I had it to do all over again, I would not go to college. And I was shocked. I mean, you graduated top of our class. You helped me graduate. He graduated valedictorian. I graduated, thank you, Lordy Joe. And okay. So when he said that to me, I was shocked. I said, well, what would you do? He said, I would go into construction. I said, construction, really? He said, yes, think about it. He said, every weekend we go to the library and we're learning how to do these repairs. And every weekend and every day after work, we stay up to 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night making repairs on this property we own. But these guys who did not finish high school, many of them, they went to a trade school. And right now, I did the math, and he calls me babe. He said, I did the math, babe. And he said, if we did the work ourselves, if we self-perform the work ourselves, he said, the savings is more than you make a year. I was shocked. He said, actually, these guys make more an hour than you make a day. I was really shocked. And he said, and they went to trade school. So I said, I'll go to trade school. He started laughing. He said, you're kidding me, right? I said, no, I'm not kidding. I said, if you believe that going to a trade school in construction, actually, Joe, I went to North Tech while working on my master's degree, while working at Pratt & Whitney, and that's how I got into construction. And I wanted to go a little bit deeper in sharing this story because I want to encourage our parents, our grandparents, and all of our listeners that this industry of construction, everybody, it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, there's no barrier to entry. And oftentimes we wear these stilettos, we wear these three-piece suits, And then we think we've arrived with all this debt, but not realizing that this industry can afford you any opportunity you desire. Now, for me, that was us going back to 1979, 80, 81, 82. So that's how I got into this industry. And I just want to encourage all of us to just consider this industry as an opportunity for growth. So thank you so much for the question.
Okay, thank you, man. Great answer. Going back to you, Adriana, if you want to talk about what do you see as the current growth trends, and in light of where we are with COVID and everything that's going on, what do you see, and how do you see the industry evolving and moving forward?
Right. Well, I think the contribution I would make to that question, Joe, especially given the recent health pandemic and all of the fallout during the pandemic, I saw a trend, and I think many could relate to that even prior to the pandemic, the time of the pandemic, in terms of this adaptability. In project management, we call it agility. And so for businesses to be able to adapt quickly to change, whether that change has to do with environmental change, market change, labor force, etc. But business agility is certainly the current growth trend from my vantage point, and we see not only in transportation and infrastructure, but I think across industry and across sectors. It is just simply the way to do business. And if many of us did not, as a business owner, see and or experience that, I think the pandemic has certainly brought about many lessons, the ability to respond, the ability to be flexible, to adapt, to adjust quickly to a customer's demands. In this particular case, it would be to the government. The government had to send hundreds of thousands of employees to remote work. They had to, from soup to nuts in terms of equipment, voice IP. The conversion was just astronomical. And those businesses, the government relied heavily on the private sector to make those adjustments for the many employees that were involved. And I know that is still the case with the Department of Transportation, who remains in a remote status, but very much alive and very much engaged, and in particular with the small businesses. So having that ability to respond quickly, a nimble organization that's ready to respond, cost effective without compromising quality, of course, is certainly a trend and a direction that I would encourage, businesses and organizations to be on the lookout, to anticipate the needs of your customers. And again, particularly, so whether it has to do with the pandemic status, whether it's wartime, whatever the government priorities may be at any particular time, ensure that your internal processes, are flexible, adaptable, and can meet the needs, of the government.
Right. Well, yeah. No, that's very key. Agility, adaptability. We saw that in not just, like you said, in businesses that serve government, but the businesses that serve the public and everything. Restaurants who had to do deliveries, and
yes,
with dry cleaners and others who had to find different ways of making money. So interesting. So, Ann, your thoughts about the trends and where we're going with the pandemic and all this stuff. How do you see things looking in the future?
Well, interestingly, Joe, for us inside of MCO Construction, and also I have to speak on behalf of NABWIC, the National Association of Black Women in Construction. Also, we are finding one trend in terms of materials and the cost of construction skyrocketing. Another trend that we didn't think about before, but we're all engaged, is the virtual world and the opportunities that it is creating to do business nationally, whereas previously we were more local. thirdly, we're realizing that the strategic partnerships and relationships that have been created that allow us to follow our clients internationally now, not just locally. And then finally, the strategic partnerships we're able to create with each other where we don't have to be face to face. And some of these platforms that, like right now, we're here on this platform, and it's allowing us to have a phenomenal event where previously, even for this event, we were all in person.
Mhm.
And if you could not attend, you didn't have the benefit. And so, one of the biggest trends for all of us, regardless of who you are and where you are, is a mindset shift on how you see yourself as a part of this industry and how you see the business that you're in terms of now, many of our companies, our company included at MCO, we're utilizing more consultants, we're utilizing more VAs, even in the areas of where we would have a full-time person. Now we're realizing that the world is literally flat, like Friedman suggested, and we're able to access estimators and schedulers and all of these all over the world, exactly what he said in his book, the first chapter. And so those are the things we're seeing that's allowing us to drop to the bottom line. And another huge one is real estate, and the fact that many of these companies now are realizing that their employees no longer have to be in the office, which now is allowing people to live anywhere in the world, do it virtually. Now, what does that do for us? And even in the area of office space, we thought, buy office, or we have lots of offices across the US, but now those offices don't necessarily need to be a physical office, because even some of the agencies and clients are allowing you to have a virtual office and still be able to do your job. So those are some of the trends we've been seeing.
Okay, well, cool. I want to stick with you, Ann, for the next one. I'm going to follow up with the question about the big infrastructure bill that everybody, I'm sure, has seen and heard about, read about, that the Biden administration is pushing forward. So we're talking about $1 trillion worth of investment in infrastructure and renewable energy and other things, broken up into different pieces. I understand. So what do you see, or have you done some research to find out what's in the bill yourself, and what opportunities you see for your business and other Black-owned businesses, and how should we individually or collectively prepare ourselves to take advantage of the money that's going to be spent over the next several years through these bills?
Thank you so very, very much for that question. And I'm smiling broadly because strategically, on behalf of MCO Construction, about 15 years ago, we started breaking up our business into industries. And I have been doing this now long enough where I would live in one industry for 10 years. And then I pick up another industry. And then I pick up another industry. But I'm still in the others. I just tap them, but I don't know them like I used to. I took that concept in one of the chapters in Napoleon Hill's book. We talked about the story of Charles Schwab was paid by Andrew Carnegie $70,000 a year, but he paid him $1 million bonus. Schwab came up with a phenomenal idea. They called it the $1 billion dinner speech, where he convinced Andrew Carnegie to put together all of the small firms and form what we now know as U.S. Steel. I took that concept from the book, and with the blessings of God, just creativity, formed what we now know as the $1 billion luncheon inside of NABWIC. And what we do is each month we focus on $1 billion industry of opportunities. We've been doing that now 3 years before the pandemic. So when the pandemic hit, Joe, what we did was we just pivoted. And every single Saturday, we have a meeting where we're walking through the infrastructure bill by industries. We've been going to the Congressional Black Caucus now for 15 years. And this year, even though the caucus is virtual, like it was last year, we are going in person still and hosting our reception. But the way we're handling that billion-dollar infrastructure, trillions of dollars, we're breaking it down into billions of dollars of opportunities, billions of dollars in water and transit and transportation and aviation and so on. And we've connected with the congressional people who are over those industries, and we're connected with the associations that's over those industries. You see, because every civic association is controlling the direction of those dollars. I'll say it again. So if it's water, it's AWWA, of course. If it's transportation, of course, it's ACTA. If it's transit, of course, and so on. So on behalf of our organization, and I want to invite everybody that's listening, you can go to Eventbrite, you can go to our website. For example, on the 8th of September, we're hosting the billions of dollars of opportunities in transit by having 4 national transit agencies, such as MARTA in Atlanta. They're getting that money, and they're coming and bringing those opportunities to us on Zoom, such as Denver, such as California. So that's how we're managing, Joe, because we are all too small as individuals and firms to really grasp our arms individually around these opportunities. And this is where the mastermind concept comes in. When you look at NAB and all of these civic organizations, we are simply a huge mastermind group. But for us, out of this Black Women Organization of Construction, we take the brothers, Joe, you can be a member. Yes, you can.
Okay.
And I just want to just share that. So that's what we're doing. And I hope that gives all of us some idea of how we can connect with our congressional office. But the niche to be rich, though, don't try to be all over the place and don't try to do all things regarding this infrastructure bill. Find one thing that you do and who's over that. And I think that that's how we can each benefit individually. Thank you.
Great advice. Adriana, you want to add to that? What do you think? So what you know about what's in the bill and what's coming down and how Black-owned firms can take advantage of that?
Well, with the $1 trillion, it's certainly a lot in the bill. Trillions of dollars is not, terms or terminology that we use in our everyday language. Even in this industry where we see, hundreds of billions of dollars at times, and a lot of funding when it comes to infrastructure. And as Anne has laid out, there's so many areas that this bill addresses. There are provisions for federal highway, federal aid highway, transit, highway safety, motor carrier, hazardous materials. Rail is huge. The Biden administration is paying a great deal of focus with respect to rail. I would encourage businesses to begin to look at ways that they can be involved and support the rail industry, supplying the rail and just furthering their mission because quite a bit of funds are going towards rail. There are some breakdowns in the bill. I mean, it's pretty comprehensive. But for example, right now, from the budget highlights, at least from the latest, there's about just over $18 billion for Federal Aviation Administration. So that's all aviation. $13.5 billion is going towards transit, $1 billion for National Highway Traffic Safety, and just over $1 billion for maritime administration. So not to underestimate or overlook some of the areas of transportation and infrastructure that maybe small businesses, Black-owned businesses don't typically supply or do business development around, to maybe take a second look at these industries, not just on the federal level, but most of the funding will come down through the state and municipal levels. So we'll see our transit organizations becoming very active. Again, from soup to nuts in terms of what they'll be doing, what they'll be involved with, how they'll be expanding their services, their equipment, capital improvements at airports. So there's a lot to take advantage of. And again, I would encourage, Black-owned businesses in particular, but businesses in general, to to be encouraged by, and to, think outside of the box, get off the beaten path, if you will. Or, everyone is looking at highway, maybe transit, and those are certainly to be looked at, but, don't be shy about, and don't underestimate, for example, maritime or National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, particularly for our service providers that provide, marketing, advertising, those kinds of services out of what we call NHTSA, NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Quite a, billions of dollars has been poured into standing up, more advertising, more campaigns across the country with respect to safety, the whole conversation around equity, which is huge in this administration. And so our National Highway Traffic Safety Administration will be utilizing those dollars and the expertise from the private sector and the marketplace to further those efforts.
Well, that kind of leads right into the next question a little bit, because the next one is about entry barriers, and Ann, you talked a little about this before, about construction not being high barriers. Some areas there are high barriers, right? So I mean, you're not going to go out and buy a $16 million dredging machine and start dredging the ocean or bays and start construction business that way. But you mentioned several ways that where there are low entry barriers, like marketing, maybe estimating, maybe providing those kind of ancillary services to government agencies that they could get into. So are there other creative ways or ways to get around the barriers that do exist? And I'll come to you, the kind of that firms, or individuals that don't have big lines of credit that they can buy heavy equipment to get into this business.
Yeah, excellent question, Joe. I would start as simple as, and I share this, even though this is Black Business Month, many of us came out of jobs. We didn't just go straight into business doing something we knew nothing about. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to share this question anytime God blesses me with an opportunity. Is this: where can a Black woman go that has 5 or 6 kids, who did not finish high school, who does not have a GED? Where can she go and make $15, $16, $17, $18, $19, $20 an hour and not have to wait for her baby daddy, Joe? Where can she go and work?
Yeah, you can do that in construction.
Construction as a laborer. Mm-hmm. And as you know, on many of your projects, especially if they're transportation related projects, the union has made sure that you're going to pay those, wages. Mm-hmm. And so people who are looking for work, especially right now, there's such a shortage in the workforce. Yes. They can start in this industry as a laborer. I have some laboring women that started with me years ago. They're now entrepreneurs. And they didn't go back and get that GED, never did, didn't have to. And so I would like to say, start there. There are those who are in professions who are in ancillary positions related to construction. It could be in procurement. Construction, we buy everything, even water. How much water do we buy on these job sites? So printing and all of these things, so we don't think about that. So I would say those are some low areas of entry. The second thing I would suggest that people should consider doing is align yourself with an industry association, ABC, AGC, the chamber, Joe, and thank you for your leadership in the Black Chamber in Palm Beach County. And we're, same thing in the chamber in Broward, and same thing in the chamber in Miami. And those of you who are listening from all over, involve yourself in your local chambers, Black and white, activity or committee. There are lots of construction, regardless of what color, creed, or gender you are, women in construction, that they can get involved. Doing that, we have an opportunity to connect in the relationship are in that space that may have a need for what we do. So those are some areas I would like to suggest, and this is what we do as part of Black Women in Construction. And as a coach and a consultant, it's also something that I teach my clients. Start where you are, and then look to knit to be rich in that space in the construction industry. And so you talked about purchasing heavy equipment. There are a lot of heavy equipment operators that can do a business if they desire to do so. And so those are some lower levels of entry. But I think the key is connecting with like-minded and like-spirited people that can help you see things that you may not be able to see. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Adriana, you want to touch on that, on any barriers and how to get around them, or different avenues? You already touched on it a little bit, talking about marketing and other ways to get into transportation.
Sure. And both barriers and entries, I know, perhaps our audience would be, really mindful of and would want to hear about what are those entry points into this industry. Stay abreast of, everything that's coming out of Washington, D.C. I mean, oftentimes we know that what happens in Washington, D.C. is not happening in Main Street. That is in our neighborhoods, in our homes, with respect to our own pocketbook or wallets. But there's this trickle down effect. And so one of the things with this administration and the jobs plan that's coming out, the administration is directing federal agencies to fortify its subcontractor network to create pathways to prime contracting. And that's huge, especially in the construction industries, because many of our small businesses provide a particular trade or they're focused on a particular discipline in the construction and construction related path. And the endeavor, I suspect, is always to reach that status as a prime contractor. And so those pathways are being created, and agencies and U.S. Department of Transportation leading that effort are being directed to create those pathways to prime contracting status for small businesses. So that's the come. And I would suggest, again, staying abreast of what's coming out of that language with respect to the Jobs Act. The new goal, are we aware of, as a part of the Jobs Act as well, the new goal is to increase the share of contracts going to small disadvantaged businesses by 50%. 50%. And we're thinking of, we're looking at or facing this $1 trillion infrastructure budget is game changing for small businesses, no matter what type of product and or service that you are making available to the federal government. 50% by 2026. That's a short time frame to get that much, to make that much of a difference to it and to increase funding. Right now, out of the White House, they are expecting that is translating to about $100 billion over the next 5 years. That is in the hands of small disadvantaged businesses. So I think that's huge. And so these are going to be some of the entry points. There's an investment of about $30 billion into the Small Business Administration to stand up some initiative to reduce barriers in small business ownership and to promote their success. Different and a variety of new direct loan programs specifically created for and customized for the nation's smallest businesses, and in particular focusing on those that are small disadvantaged businesses. So there are a number of entry points into contracting with the federal government. I speak directly from the point for infrastructure and what U.S. Department of Transportation holds. And in terms of barriers, I think one that continues to stand out for me, Joe, and to my colleagues, is that small businesses not having strategic alliances or experience around joint venture partnerships. I continue to see that as a barrier when it comes to small businesses, because large businesses, almost, are always operating in this environment as joint ventures. And there are, really there are no legal or other, reasons that small businesses cannot come together and do the same because it goes a long way. It allows businesses to compete for larger contracting opportunities and to
Mhm.
play in larger spaces, and everyone wins if it's structured the right way. If it makes sense for small businesses to joint venture, again, it really changes the game in terms of
Absolutely.
how you're able to do business.
Right. And that's something, and many of us, and myself, and many of us know H.J. Russell and how he did,
Yes.
he did his own stuff, but he also was not afraid to partner with other people and grow his business through associations. And, we do it at D. Stevenson when it makes sense. I know, Ann, you do it when it makes sense for your firm as well. So associations are definitely smart ways to expand your business opportunities and to get into areas and that you may not have been able to get into if you were relying upon your resources alone. So, sure.
Can I add a comment to that too?
Sure, please.
As you mentioned, Russell, I seldom do people talk about how he dominated 3 industries with his 3 kids.
Mm.
Yes, we talk about the construction with his son Michael, but we seldom talk about how he dominated HUD with his other son, Jerome, and his daughter, that is the largest concessionaire retail in the aviation space and has outgrown the DBE program. And so, again, the model works of diversification of your portfolio of business in addition to how you make money, and they're able to now grow many people who look like us in the construction world, because what we seldom talk about, and that is the fact that many of us come out of firms. So when you look at individuals that come out of your firm, Joe, at D. Stevens, and they go on and start their own business. And then people who work with them eventually go out and start their own business. Many of the Black plumbers and tradespeople that we know worked for someone else, oftentimes Black, and they went on and start their own, or they worked for a parent and start their own business. And I say that because when you talk about infrastructure, we talk about the infrastructure bill, we can also talk about the infrastructure building our communities in this space and how we are really a fertile ground for entrepreneurship in the construction industry, why it is imperative that we grow people to become entrepreneurs that are employees that we want to lead. My point, though, is that when you mentioned Russell, the thought reminded me that Russell and Thacker and CMTS, Hezekiah Harris, Mr. Harris, we don't talk about him much, but CMTS, all of those guys came out of that era together in construction and concession.
Right. Yep.
Okay, so I just wanted to share that because, again, this area of construction is a feeder into a lot of different ancillary kinds of businesses.
Yes.
Right. And you mentioned Russell and his children, and Mr. Russell has now moved on past us now, but his children are still doing well, right? So that's the issue about generational wealth, right?
Exactly.
So can you talk about how construction contributes to generational wealth and how that is a feeder for future generations?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
can I share a short story?
Sure.
A friend of mine that came out of Thacker started an organization called Wisers, WICERS, and her name is Jan, and she also came out of Thacker at the same time I came out of Thacker. She started an organization called Wisers, and a few years ago she held a conference. She would do this every year, so it had to be like 2019, right before pandemic hit. And so I've supported her every conference, never missed one. So I'm in the conference at the end of a session. I'm sitting next to a Black gentleman. I don't know him, and we start talking. Another Black guy walks up. We start talking. There's 3 of us now. Another Black guy walks up. There's 4. There were 6 of us. There were 6 of us in this circle talking. And many of us did not know each other. But the more we talked, we realized all 6 of us had one thing in common: shocking. And each of us were the highest in our field in different parts of the country. And you know what it was?
What's that?
All 6 of us came out of Thacker Construction.
Okay.
Now,
Me too.
oh my gosh, Bill, you were not in the mix.
I worked there also, yeah.
Okay, hold the thought. Let me tell you who it was. And we're talking about infrastructure building here. I want to make sure that everybody who's listening get the point. You see, infrastructure of the trillions of dollars means absolutely nothing if we're not positioned to take advantage of the opportunity. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So when you think about infrastructure in our community, what does an infrastructure look like in the construction industry in our community? This is what it looks like. Thacker Construction created Ann McNeil, first Black female contractor in the state, created Joe Sanchez, the #1 Black contractor in the state of Florida, according to Ann McNeil. It created Jan Bryson, I think the #1 lobbyist in the state of Georgia, who gets billions of dollars in opportunity. It created the young man who was the ranking Black in, I can't think of his name, in he just left and went to another firm. But there was 3 other guys, if I could call them, Joe, you would know who they are. And they were each geographically in their area, #1 Black in that area. And so I want to just make sure that as we talk about Black Business Month, that we know what does it look like. And there are people that have come out of all of our firms, like Russell. The people that Russell has created are now managing public sector agencies. And so this is so important that we do this so we can connect and strategically have relationships so that we can take advantage of the opportunities when they come.
Right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to add it to it? You feel like you're ready to jump in.
I know. Right? Well, I would just say in terms of building generational wealth, I just say keep taking advantage of these opportunities and investments to grow, stronger brands for your companies, then reinvesting in your people. Reinvesting in your people who in turn will be vested in your company. Mm-hmm. And that really is where we see the growth. And with growth comes wealth. And, we all know that, just as Ms. McNeil has pointed out, money begets money. So once you begin to see that kind of wealth and that, the growth within your company, your people are treated well, money begets money. And that's how, firms begin to, be able to spin off, diversify, and get into other businesses. Right.
And I know, and most of you guys know I work with Dwight Stevenson and Dinah, and they have, one of their kids right now is still in the business. Dwayne is still in the business, and but even their other son, Dwight Jr., works for Jones Lang LaSalle and is still in the business related area. And I know you have at least one of your children in your business as well, right? And 2 of your children in the business. So yeah, it's definitely an opportunity for us to pass on, not just to our own biological children, but also to other people who we try to invest in. And I think statistically, I don't have the research in front of me, but I know for a fact that Black-owned firms hire more Black people than non-Black-owned firms, and so we try to create that pipeline of people that's going to follow behind us, intentionally trying to do that. So do you have any advice on for other Black-owned business owners having realized they try to build and pass it on to generations that come behind them, and try to make sure that whether it's their own children or somebody else's children that we try to help the next generation on.
Absolutely, Joe. I have hired over 100 interns in my 40 plus years in this business. And 2 of my interns ended up becoming the highest ranking Black males in Miami-Dade County construction. And I've ended up working for them.
Okay.
We also host an annual intern reunion where I now bring them back. One of my interns came to me as a 9th grader, and she stayed with me 15 years. And so every time you pass the Guitar Building in Hollywood, she was assistant PM on that project. And I've had the pleasure of working for her, along with many other interns that have come through us. And we did not do it intentionally, had no idea that it would happen like that. But I think that now looking backwards, it is a funnel to build entrepreneurs, because all of those individuals have an entrepreneur spirit. And so one of the things I teach as a part of our entrepreneurship in the company, first of all, they must read, think, and grow rich. That's first. And if you don't, wait, I'm not laughing, it's grounds for termination. The weakest link in our chain, come on, Adriana, you know this me.
Yes.
Stand next to me long enough, you will be reading it too. But to go back to your question though, Joe, I would encourage all of our small businesses, plant a seed in your family. See, we those of us who are in the business, our parents wanted us to have more and better. I want you to struggle like I did, which is one of the worst things that can happen, because, so and start right in your family and bringing your children to work with you early. And I know we're wrapping up, but that would be a start. And then I would also encourage us, go back into the HBCUs and hire interns during the summer. Many of them will work for free. And if you have a couple of pennies, pay them. So Danielle, we see you and we know it's time. Thank you so very kindly. But again, workforce, Marie does a phenomenal job in hiring interns from workforce. And I'll do the same, because again, these jobs are requiring you have experience, but they can't get experience if people look like us don't give them an opportunity to have experience. And so there are many PhD candidates and MBA candidates who are looking for internships. And so I would encourage us to tap into that, and also into these engineering programs on these college campuses. Thank you.
Great. Do you want to add something to that, Adriana?
Only that, I, have been nodding in agreement all throughout, and I do, not as an entrepreneur, but, in my work, I go into the colleges and the universities and do the same type of encouragement. And we hire interns, have hired interns. We're able to pay stipend in some instances, or provide experiential learning opportunities where we're placing students in roles that they are, working alongside project managers, engineers, and other disciplines that will expose them and get them ready, preparing them for careers. And they're earning 3 academic credits. Students love that. So in lieu of, and if you can't provide a stipend or some type of monetary reward, students are very open to, if you work with their college or university, to earning academic credit for them to spend time in experiential learning opportunities, and they're very worthwhile.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I believe in internships as well. We have 4 this past summer, which was great, and they were very, very helpful. I love the idea of the intern reunion. I hadn't thought about that, though. Bringing them back to kind of share their experiences and kind of learn from each other is great too. So we just have just about 9.5 minutes left, and I just wanted to give our audience members, if they had any questions, the opportunity to go ahead and post their questions in the chat room if you do. If not, because I wanted to do that before I have one final wrap-up question for our panelists. So for those who can hear the sound of my voice, please type in your questions, and so the panelists are going to give you a chance to think about what last little kind of golden nuggets you want to leave with our members, or our participants. So Allison Horton has some questions. She says, how can you go about becoming a subcontractor in MCO construction for public relations or communications opportunities? You get that, Ann?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you so very much for the question. I'm going to put my MCO construction company link in the chat, and we can connect there, because I think that for all of us in the construction industry, it's always best to have an opportunity by building relationship first before we need the work, the sub or the subcontractor. We also have a consulting company called MCO Consulting, where we do outreach, monitoring, and compliance for our clients. And that is another place that we can connect you with opportunities, because these clients are hiring us to find people who are looking for work. And so I'll also put that link in the chat. Thirdly, our organization, for the question, the National Association of Black Women in Construction is a place for you to grow and connect with other people who are looking for your services. So I've already put that information in the chat. Thank you.
Excellent. Cool. Any other questions from our audience members? Okay. So if not, I'm going to turn it back over to you two to kind of give us your last golden nugget that you want to leave our audience members with. So if we started with Adriana, why don't we start with Ann McNeil? What kind of last nugget do you want to leave our audience members with?
Joe, my last would just really be, I would say 3 things. Remember, you must have a dream to have a dream come true in your business and in your life. So I would encourage all of you to think and grow rich by getting the book. I would love to have you connect with me. You can text the word ANN, that's ANN, at 5567, and we can have a conversation about how you can grow in that area of business and also life. Text the word ANN at 55678. The second thing is, I would suggest, and I've talked about the fact that we should all niche to be rich. Don't try to be all things to all people. Niche to be rich. Find one thing you want to do and drill down in the one thing, one widget. Even though you sell 10, become an expert in one thing and niche to be rich. And then finally, I would encourage you to connect with organizations like the Miami-Dade Chamber, the Palm Beach County Chamber, and also Broward Chamber, Black Chamber, because these are the places where you're going to get the relationships and the connectivity to grow yourself and your business in your particular area. So those would be my 3. Thank you.
Great, excellent. Ms. Clark, do you want to leave with any golden nuggets as well?
Yeah, I would have a very simplistic nugget, if you will, with the presumption that our audience members are mainly small business owners. And with that, I would just say to small businesses to if you're an owner of a company, endeavor to become a CEO of your small business. Then hire the president and other key executives of your company, because that really shows that your company is growing, that the CEO is ready to move on, and whether that's starting new businesses, starting up new endeavors, really being able to be in a position to grow individuals and grow brands and other companies. So endeavor to become a CEO. It's a very different role than acting as president of your company, and just dealing with your day-to-day kind of operations. That would be my nugget.
Okay. Well, great. Yeah. Well, those are all very, very, very good piece of advice for our members or our audience members to hear. I think some of them are looking for actually phone numbers and other information that they're looking for to contact you. So if you could, if you get a chance, I know Ann, you already put your information in there, Ms. Clark, if you could just type in your information so people can reach out to you. I know that there are a number of different sessions still coming up later on today. One with the Written Back Experience with Anne-Marie Sorrell. We have the lunch and the virtual expo coming up later. More authors that we're going to be hearing from later today as well. So I want to encourage those who have the opportunity to stick around to take advantage of those various sessions that are coming up, because you're going to hear some good things coming on later on. So Danielle, I think we're just about wrapping up, and do I turn it back over to you? Do you have a few closing remarks you want to say?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Sanchez, Mrs. Clark, Mrs. McNeil. This was definitely an awesome session and very informative. So we appreciate you for joining us this year for the Industry Watch Infrastructure and Renewable Energy panel. And I'm going to take it away with a quick video.
All right, great. Thank
you.
Thank you, ladies. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We are the keepers of a flame, kindled in another age, an era of romantic beach escapes, with breeze-filled days and elegant nights, where you can still hear echoes of that gentler time when Camelot returned, enduring, timeless. Sun-kissed sands embrace the warm Gulf Stream waters, and matchless service complements definitive style. Once more, the golden age of travel beckons, a doorway to the past, as modern as today. We invite you to come visit the original vacation capital of Florida, the one that started it all, whose 47 miles of coastal towns beckon you with a clarion call. Claim your once-in-a-lifetime memory here. After all, we are the original, the one, the only, the Palm Beaches.
Cool.
All right.
Would walk up to me and just be like,
have a great evening, everyone, or afternoon.
just tell them
See you all in
it's
the other
fine.
sessions.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
tons of
All right,
coffee.
take care.
I was jittery, I was anxious, became really obvious.